Partners of SleepTalkers or Sleepwalkers, what gems have you to share? Story 1. We were freshly married and living overseas. My husband hadn't had much sleep the nights before, which usually enhances any sleep talking. It was hot in our room. My husband mumbled something which I didn't quite catch. I asked him to repeat it. He got up, opened the bedroom window, and said very pointedly, "Airflow, bitch!" Then laid back down, completely asleep. Now, my husband has never, not once, ever called me a name or even raised his voice to me, so this is particularly hilarious. Story 2. I'm the sleep talker. A long while back, my fiancée was working a job where she didn't get home until after midnight. She came home one night and was leaning over the table on my side of the bed. She swears up and down that I looked up at her, smacked her on the top of the head, and when she asked what the hell, that I told her I was checking to see if she was a ghost. Now, I do remember having a dream like this, but in my dream my hand did go through her head, proving she was a ghost. Story 3. I have had funnier experiences than this one, but cannot remember exactly what was said, most recently though. My boyfriend scoots over to me to big spoon/little spoon, and I snuggle in, thinking that's all it was. Then he gets real close to my ear and whispers, "Just so you know, there's something in the closet." Like a cartoon turtle. I did my best not to bust out laughing and just said, "Okay, honey." When he woke up, he had no memory of it whatsoever, of course. Story 4. Roommate freshman year of college was a sleepwalker/sleep talker. We were in the freshman dorms, small little room. I woke up one night and saw him sitting straight up on the side of the bed just staring at me, eyes fully open, just talking gibberish about golf. He was going on about Phil Mickelson or some shit. Have to be honest, it was creepy as all hell because he was staring directly into my eyes. Next morning, I told him about it, and he just laughed and said, "Sorry, I tend to do that from time to time." Story 5. He got up, went into the kitchen and ate one bite of a mini pecan pie, no fork, just a straight bite, then apparently remembered he hates pecan pie and left it stacked neatly on the little box. Another time he sat up and stared straight ahead at the wall, didn't respond to me asking what was wrong. He stood up, walked into the wall, then stood there like he was contemplating the barrier. He just backed up exactly as he came, sat down, and swung back into bed like nothing happened. That was creepy. Story 6. My aunt likes to tell the story about her and my cousin sharing a hotel room one time. My aunt woke up having to pee, and found my cousin sitting up in bed with her arms folded across her abdomen, kind of rocking back and forth and giggling quietly. When my aunt asked her what she was doing, my cousin said, "I'm holding a baby and it has an adult smile." I found this story deeply unsettling. Story 7. My mom sleepwalks sometimes. When she was in the middle of her residency, she came into my room in the middle of the night and sharply asked, "Did you give patient her dose of medication like I asked you to 15 minutes ago?" I groggily replied, "Who? Why?" She just huffed and said, "Well, I guess that answers my question," before turning around and leaving. Without closing the door, of course. She didn't remember a thing about it the next morning. Story 8. Not a partner, but in military training and school I often took the night shift for guard duty. The amount of sleepwalkers and talkers is way higher than I expected. It is straight creepy when you have to walk down the halls with a covered flashlight listening to big-ass grown men mumbling and lashing out in their sleep. What takes the cake though is often sleepwalkers will just kinda stop randomly. So you'll be walking along in the pitch-black darkness, and suddenly there is just a dude standing there. Eyes generally closed, or worse, open, just kinda listening to the side or leaning against a bedpost or wall. After I'd suppress all the swear words I was about to yell out, nothing much to do but kinda prod them along back to their bed. For all the randomness that is being part of the military, I really didn't expect one of my jobs to be gently tucking my fellow soldiers back into their beds. Story 9. Heck yes. Please take a seat. My wife was an avid sleep-talker for a long time, and her midnight announcements range from simple single words to elaborate speeches. The ones that really stand out to me are, waking up in the middle of the night to her suddenly sitting violently up in bed, throwing back the covers, and screaming, "Tarantula! That will make you very awake very quickly," whispering my name repeatedly, which woke me up so she could share in a hushed, cautious voice. "There is an alligator in here." When I expressed my concern, playing along, she told me, still whispering, that it's okay. It has been here before. But my all-time favorite was when, from her perspective, as she later explained, she was dreaming that I was playfully sneaking up on her, and she saw me and was calling me on it. From my perspective, my wife sat up in the middle of the night, starting into the darkest corner of the room, and said repeatedly in a soft sing-song voice, "I see you." My flipping blood froze. Story 10. One night, my boyfriend woke me up in the middle of the night, tapping me on my shoulder. He put his finger on his mouth, whispered "shush" to me, then pointed at the door and told me, "I can hear something, don't move." Predictably, I nearly shit my pants. All the worst possible scenarios crossed my mind, and the moment of silence after he shushed me felt like hours. Then, he started waving his hands and talking about Tetris, the twirlies, and making sure we don't align. And that's how I learned my boyfriend talks in his sleep. Story 11. Not a partner, but 1 o'clock in the morning I got a phone call from my friend in the next street. My 6-year-old daughter had just knocked on her door, and then walked in mumbling about not being able to do her sums. I raced up there and walked home with her, put her back to bed, and she didn't wake up or remember a thing the next day. By the next night our house was like Fort Knox. Story 12. When my girlfriend and I started dating, she told me that she's been told she talks in her sleep from time to time, and unfortunately has nightmares fairly often. One of the first nights we spent together, she wakes up at 2 a.m. and sits up super fast. It wakes me up and I look over only to hear her quickly say, "Pizza. Order a pizza," then lie back down and start snoring within a minute. God, I love that woman, LMAO. Story 13. My wife will tell me the next day when I do this. Her favorite story to tell is that she woke up in the middle of the night to find me slowly walking out of our bedroom. Wife: "Are you okay? What are you doing?" Me: "There's somebody downstairs in the kitchen, unrolling the tin foil." Wife: "Okay. What's your plan?" Me: "I'm going to stop them." Wife: "Shall we get a bit more sleep then both go down together?" Me: "Okay." And I went back to bed. Subsequent investigations found a small plastic bag on the floor, near my head, being rustled by the movement of the curtain, the window being open. Story 14. I'm the sleep talker. I don't remember any of this, but my boyfriend said I did this to him. In the middle of the night I hit my boyfriend's ass hard with my knee. Obviously he was pretty upset. He sat up to stretch and I said, "I'll stretch too." Did stretches and laid back down. Then, while making full eye contact with him, I grabbed the blanket and threw it off of him. Then rolled over and started snoring immediately. Story 15. My ex used to sometimes talk in her sleep, and one night I was up really late and was really high just watching TV, and I heard her say, very clearly to me, "Let's get McDonald's." I thought to myself that it was a great idea, so I got up and started getting dressed. After I was done I went back to wake her, and she was out. I shook her a couple of times and said, "Let's go, I'm ready." She finally woke up and said, "What? No, it's late, go to bed." I was so disappointed because I totally thought she wanted to go and I was too high to drive, so I had to get undressed again and go back to bed. Looking back, I totally should have known that was just her talking in her sleep, but I was so high I did not want to accept that as the reality, and chose to believe I was gonna get some McDonald's. Story 16. Oh man, not my partner but my brother. I was watching The Exorcist with my dad and my brother, and at the beginning of the movie, some archaeologists find a little statue that releases the devil, or something. Anyway, we finished the movie, and my brother falls asleep on the other couch, so my dad and I just watch another movie. The second that movie ended, my brother sat bolt upright and walked to the middle of the room asking, "Where's the statue?" And we're like, "What statue?" And he's going, "The statue." The statue. Eventually, he makes a motion with his hands like he's picking something up, moves it over about a foot, and then puts this imaginary statue back down. He went right back to sleep again after. My dad and I just looked at each other like, oh, what the F just happened? But we got a great laugh out of it. Story 17. The girlfriend doesn't usually talk/sleepwalk, but one night she came out of the bedroom and started talking about the apples of data on the table while gesturing at something that wasn't there. I would ask her what she meant, and she kept talking about the apples of data, to the point I was like, what the F are you on about? I don't know what that means. And she was getting increasingly frustrated that I was completely oblivious to the apples of data. Finally, she said something about the data on the bedroom doors in a tone that suggested I was going to regret not seeing her data apples and went back to bed.